Okay, and we are live to the GSFE Admins podcast, coming to you from Des Moines, Iowa at the 2018 Fall Conference. Welcome everyone, my name is Lennon. I'm the Technology Director for the Eagle Grove Community School District in Eagle Grove, Iowa.
I am Karl Hehr, Director of Technology at Ames Community Schools in Ames, Iowa.
I'm Frerichs, Director of Technology at Adel DeSoto Lindburn Schools in Adel, Iowa.
Trimble, Pocahontas Area Community School District Technology Director.
Awesome. So,
Phil, you did that backwards.
Well, that's okay.
Just did different.
They're backwards in Pokey. It's how they operate.
Where it was first, instead of what he was.
Well, it's because we didn't have show notes. He didn't know what to do. I was lost. His script was written improperly.
So, as you can tell, we don't have show notes for the show. We are kind of winging it at the conference, but then again, when's the last time they actually looked at the show notes that I may have sent out to them? A lot has happened. We've been off for 2 months. We did have the last podcast in July, and then August and September, of course, at the beginning of the school year, we were all a little busy and doing our thing. So we're going to kind of go down and I think just real quick talk, what did we do this summer? What was something that you did in terms of the GSFE domain? And go from there. So I'll start, and number one, and Karl has it over here. This is the Gobox Chrome. If you do any type of enrollment on your own for Chromebooks, we've talked about this device before. We actually have these in hand and got to use them en masse this summer. I myself, in a half day, a 3.5 hour period, was able to enroll 350 Chromebooks. You can do 16 at a time with this. I couldn't do 16. I couldn't keep up. I literally was doing 8 at a time, and it was still beating me. They were done before I could get back down to the first one. It depends on how you set your script up to run, how fast you connect, of course, to the Wi-Fi. But it is the Gobox Chrome. You want to hand that up? Here we've got. It's simply just a little device. Now, they told us at ISTE, and they will have coming a different addition to this model to take one whole side out of this equation. You can do 8 at a time, but not only will you be able to enroll devices, but the device on this side will allow you to re-image your device. So all in one, you'll be able to put the image on the device, it will reboot and enroll, and you'll do it one touch, literally plug this in and go. And we'll get to the questions, I promise. So what's really cool is Gobox, because we have been promoting this and talking to them since they've been in their inception when they came out with their beta tools. They've been generous to us, been very kind to us, and now they want to be kind to you guys also. If this is something you want to buy, and it is $1,500 for the device itself, but if you're doing any type of white glove, imagine what you're already paying and being able to do this in-house. $1,500, but you can get a $100 discount if you use the coupon code EDTECH100, all capitals, EDTCH. I'll put it in the show notes on the webpage and everything. So EDTECH100, you can get $100 off of that price for this, but you have to buy direct from them, not through a reseller. And so it'd be $1,400. And they have gone to that as a lifetime support model too. So it used to be you also paid an annual support, and they changed that because they realized education likes the one and done payment method. I honestly, like I said, I did 350 in 3.5 hours and was not keeping up with half of what this can do with a team of people. It comes with the box, power supply, the USB cables, you rock and roll, you're good to go. So this was my summer project. Got those puppies hammered out, and the interface to set up your configuration is all web-based, and they give you the demo ones. You can go, they show you basically, here's what you put in, change out your SSID, change your enrollment person, and on the fly you literally can go to the web page, and this has a Wi-Fi card in it, so you could connect directly to it. I can say now I want to, you can store multiple configurations. So if you're going to use a different enrollment name because you want to put in a different OU, instead of having to change your enrollment person's OU, you can actually do a different enrollment user to put them in a different OU. You just say use this config file, and the next one that connects will use that config file. It's slicker than snot. I love this thing. I am very happy with just what this was, but add on that extra feature, which of course will be an additional cost. I think this is what I call this the killer app in the Chromebook world. So you did have a question.
So would you be able to do like multiple vendors at the same time? So like a Samsung, an HP, an Acer, all at once?
Okay, yeah, so what this is about is, what it really matters is what operating system is installed on the device, because the enrollment process is the same regardless of the vendor. It is the process of what window comes up first, what key combination. So you could do multiple vendors or multiple brands of computers. And the question was, can you do multiple brands of computers at the same time off of this? Yes, as long as they were on the same operating system. What's really cool is if you have a bunch that you needed to keep at a lower operating system, and that enrollment process was different, you can store that config on this device, and then pull this device, pull that config up, do that batch, then pull up the other config for the different operating system and do that. So yeah, multiple vendors, doesn't matter, it's all about operating system. Great question.
Because when did that process change? Was it 67? Or which version of Chrome OS when we had that big change in the process and it broke
Where you had to
all
hit
of our-
Control-Alt first before you even
Yeah,
started
it broke all of our scripts. So
It was
if you-
67.
67. So when you had to do that before with other stuff, I think it was earlier than
Yeah,
that.
the first Control-Alt-E thing was long ago.
What was that? Well, there was a change. There was a change in the two where it was difference between this Chrome version and this Chrome version, and the enrollment process changed because it had to do with keystrokes.
Mid-50s.
Could be.
I thought I said
Control-Alt-E
67
thing, I always-
definitively enough, but Chad still
Also,
can argue with me.
Pro tip, you can hit Control-Alt-E to get to the enrollment login instead of the regular login whenever. Do that early and do it often. No, just once is good. But do that early so you don't forget. Because then it just enrolls as the enrollment user by itself, like not enrolled, it just logs in. And then you have to wipe the damn thing and put it back. So, speaking from experience. But Lance is a little slow because with this bad boy right here, I was able to enroll 1,000 Chromebooks in an 8-hour period one day. I was moving, and I took a short break for a protein bar and a Monster for lunch, but I was able to do just under 1,000, and because I didn't have 1,000 to do, it was like 980 something that I did in an 8-hour period, and it was speedy. It was just I tried to get some video, but I didn't want to slow down to make sure the video worked, and then when I got done, the video didn't work. But I had two tables sort of like what we're sitting at here, side by side, and this thing was in the middle with the cords going each way. And I did one side of, and by the time the other side was done, it was just a constant stream of go get 8, put them down, unplug the other 8, put them down, and it just constant flow. That's how fast that thing was. Now, there were some glitches, so you had to, in my workflow was I would just pull the glitched ones. I actually scripted my script to shut the machine down at the very end of the script, so I knew that it was finished, and it went so super fast and so slow. I probably had 15 that glitched at some point, and it was usually, for whatever reason, they didn't grab the Wi-Fi fast enough. And I could have averted that 15 by increasing that delay, but it was 15 out of almost 1,000, and increasing the delay would have slowed me down. I had it dialed in so I could fly, and it was great. It was awesome. I was sweating. It was hot, but it was fun.
In my batch of 350, I had 5 that I had to pull out and manually go back through and do. And I thought 5 out of 350, I'll take those.
Well, I kind of had this epiphany yesterday when Chad and I were doing our workshop that really we're constantly trying to find ways to do less work.
Yeah.
Right? And some people might say that we're just looking to be efficient. Well, yeah, but ultimately, I'm kind of lazy. I would rather not have to spend 5 years enrolling Chromebooks or setting up centipedes and catching them quick before they execute, right? So it's executing incorrectly. And that's where this really, really excels is the fact that it has its own power supply, right? So if you're using centipedes or the rubber duckies, those are just keyboard emulators that immediately execute as soon as they're plugged in. So if your Chromebook has the wrong field tab clicked, your code is going to execute, and you're like, oh crap, quick, grab it! And trying to catch it before the keystrokes are done. So this one, you can just go and go and go and go and go. It's amazingly, amazingly efficient. The one thing that has caused me concern to start with was the price point on it. It's not a cheap device. However, if you start to do that math, that total cost of ownership, that return on your investment on the front end, how many of you guys pay for white gloving of your Chromebooks when you buy new Chromebooks? Okay. You pay anywhere between what, $3 and $7 a unit for that white gloving.
Right.
So I don't pay for white gloving. We use the centipedes and rubber duckies right now. I haven't actually used mine yet. But even the math on that for 1,500 Chromebooks at $5 a Chromebook, just for my middle school, I've paid for this twice over. Actually, more than twice over. And
Carl's
so,
never been very good at math.
no, I was a social studies teacher. Yeah, yep. So I actually just showed movies. Is really kind of how it works.
On a reel-to-reel. I think that.
Not that old.
Didn't have your coaching endorsement either, did you?
No, I didn't. I had a ed tech minor. Look where it got me. Beep. Turn the page. Anything else on the?
A slide projector.
So
Click.
back to his question, the way I understood, you might have been referring to the imaging piece of it, which is the add-on bit, and you can store multiple OSs for different manufacturers in their new box. And if
But you could only restore one model
at a time, right? You have to make it live. It's the same with that. You just make that model live, and then the 8 you plug in will refresh, right?
Okay.
And they also talked about the add-on box is for those that already have this one, and in the future there will be an all-in-one box that will still do 6.
They want to. We can't guarantee
We can't
that.
guarantee
There's
that.
nothing we
There's
can say
talk.
to guarantee that they will have an all-in-one box, but that is part of their goal.
Yeah.
And the thing about this, the reason it works is you have onboard storage on it, you have the Wi-Fi card, and you have an external power supply, which is what makes it different from like a rubber ducky or a Centipede, where it's drawing power from your machine. So as soon as I plug it into that Chromebook, when that Chromebook reboots, it restarts the process on the Centipede or on the rubber ducky, whereas on this, the power is external, it's not drawing it from your device, therefore it can continue on with what it was doing.
And it was Chrome version 57 that changed.
That's
Yeah.
what we said, 67.
Yep. Uh-huh.
57.
That's what he said, 67.
Who was right?
So
Who was
hopefully,
right?
well, I will never.
We had a
know.
competition at the admin summit and I lost. So this time I'm right because they said Joe and I were wrong, but this time I'm right.
So,
Okay,
what was that
makes you feel
question?
better.
So we're 1-1. We
I
need to-
listened to that podcast a little bit. Let's go back through that a little bit. So that was about
That was about whether or not repairs. That was repairs.
right.
I'm not going back to that.
If we
Eric.
gave them the same one back.
My question. I wanted to ask a question about that.
Okay.
Did you ever ask the kids how they felt about that? What they wanted?
Why would we ask kids anything?
Really? I'll be honest, I did not ask the children. No,
Okay.
I did not ask students.
Okay. I think that'd be a powerful piece. Maybe
So,
do.
Joe, I'm gonna agree with you, Bill.
All-
That's a good point. We
all
should have asked the
joking-
kids.
All joking aside, we usually ask the kids for
We
this
do.
sort of stuff. We ask the kids about device preference and that sort of stuff, but I never did on the
Joe,
repairs.
Joe, you
Actually,
know,
so we
Mark,
did-
you
we-
ask if they would like the same one back or?
Oh, no. You didn't want-
So no, I did talk to some of my kids, and I'm glad you asked this. I was joking about asking the kids too. But we talked to them about it, and their thought was, I don't know what the previous kid did to that machine. And they're even the ones who you knew were probably the ones who were abusing the machine and thought they might get a better machine. There was always the worry that there could be something just on the brink of breaking that somebody else did. Like they dropped it 100 times, that 101st time is when it's going to fall apart. They wanted theirs because it was a known issue that they knew what condition that had been in. So we did speak to my kids, which is why when we talked about that in Wisconsin, that I want that kid to have that same machine because they need to then know they have to take care of it and not just get lucky.
Pros and cons.
Indeed, indeed. For me this summer, I didn't do a lot of googly stuff, actually. A lot of stuff in my domain. There's no Chromebook refresh. We did like we normally do with our Chromebooks. We collected them, set them on the shelf, and then handed them back out in the spring, or in the fall, which we're actually gonna have conversations this year with our middle school principals about having our kids keep their devices at the middle school level.
Let's do actually a quick poll of the audience. I want to see this because this is something I'm trying to talk to my superintendent about too. How many people out here, and you are on camera, so this is for posterity, how many people store over the summer? So if you collect them all in and then store them, raise your hand for me. So on this side, vast
Oh,
majority.
So sorry.
This side, vast majority. Does anybody allow the kids to keep them over the summer? Jeremy and I'll see it too.
I would like to choose that.
Okay.
So what,
I
that's
currently
not the
don't.
current situation?
I don't, but
Okay.
I would like to.
So would I. That's what I'm trying to convince my superintendent.
We
to.
did that at Spirit Lake for the high school kids. The middle school kids turned them in. And the plan at ADM is to let the students in the one-to-one portion, the take-home, keep them. So middle school and high school.
What are your stats on breaks?
So
Well, question is, what are the stats on breakage?
Breakage, yeah.
in the summer,
Yeah.
almost non-existent.
Oh, come on.
No, I'm not kidding. Spirit Lake, we did it for 2 years before I left.
You
Two
gotta
summers.
remember though, the Spirit Lake kids are probably all out on the lake watching skiing, hanging on the
They're not
beach.
playing
They're
with their
not on-
computers.
Whereas the rest of our kids who don't have
It's
the
more
beautiful
Right.
lakes.
I think there was one broken screen in the 2 summers. There were other issues, like OS where we had to flush an OS and put it back. But as far as breakage, one screen that I can remember, I could look back at the stats, but yeah, it was minuscule.
Anybody else in here is kind of seeing the same thing?
Jeremy, what have you got?
We haven't, we've
Hold on,
had,
wait, we want you on camera.
Okay.
No,
Okay, you're good.
it's not okay. No, it's good.
am I good?
Yeah.
I'm not
Good.
sure why we are.
We've had a few, our biggest issue was, where did I put it? Or my parents, I don't know, I left it at my dad's house and I was at my mom's house all summer. Ours has just been, we've had a few that have just not shown up. We've had a couple that parents that were adamant about them not staying home, so we said, yep, turn them in,
Yeah,
we'll
we did
store
that
them
too.
for you, and for whatever reason, they weren't where they went, they weren't where they were supposed to be, or they were switching buildings, going from middle school to high school, so we'll fix that for next year. But we have not had any issues of breakage, anything large like that. We're glad we did it, because that's 3,000 machines we didn't have to touch or deal with.
And honestly, we have specialty underwriters break fix, and it's covered 24/7, 365. So
Yeah.
if it's broken, we're actually, I mean, we make money doing the repairs back into the general fund. So it's a legal laundering kind of thing.
And if you guys aren't familiar with that, they are downstairs as vendors.
Gesture through Gesture.
Gestures?
Yeah.
Wow.
Gesture's there with us.
Yep.
SU's with Gesture. Gesture's the vendor, the insurance vendor that sells that policy, not all.
Is it the all-electric policy?
Yeah,
that
Yep.
plugs in?
Yeah, anything that plugs in sort of stuff, yeah.
Well, they-
But so one of the reasons why we're gonna start having that conversation in earnest is, so we've been doing one-to-one at Ames for 6 years. And one of our number one goals was to work on eliminating a digital divide for our kids, right? Every kid has a device, doesn't matter who they are, where they come from, what their living situation is, they have a device. As we're starting to go back and look at that and really analyze that goal through an equitable lens, we're realizing that we're actually taking away this one thing that they may have in the summertime, as if they're not gonna learn in the summer, right? We're also taking away, because we tell them that if this is the only computer in your house, and mom and dad or whoever needs to apply for a job, let them use your computer. I mean, education's first, right? But if they need to apply for a job, let them use the device. And in the summer, we take it away. So the two big things we're looking at relative to technology and equity at Ames is allowing our kids to keep the devices, but also how do we figure out how we can leverage the ability to provide internet access to some of our families that can't afford it. Looking at some of the grant programs and how we kind of work E-rate in there, and because we don't filter off campus, but if we started to provide Wi-Fi at home, then we'd have to filter. So there's a lot of stuff coming up, but as far as really this summer, it was just kind of a maintenance summer for us and projects and some security stuff. I do want to talk about Wi-Fi projection later on, but that was kind of one of my big things this summer was that. But that was kind of my summer. Yeah.
For those of you that actually do let their students take them home for during the summer, how many of the students that move away can you get back? Do you get them all back?
So the question is, if you let the students take it home for the summer, how many do you lose to students moving or leaving the district? And what I would say is I have the ability to disable their account. My Chromebook, you have to have it. My domain account, they're going to have a brick. I've had one student during the school year that left who didn't return the Chromebook. I bricked the account. Lo and behold, we told them we'd like it back, or the message we sent was we will send someone to come get it of the legal persuasion, and it was mailed back. So once it becomes unusable, it's amazing how fast you'll get it back,
And
in my opinion.
we had one make its way to Missouri, but it was more by accident. It was a quick move for whatever reason, and they just packed everything up and off it went. But it found its way back. We just asked and it came back. So we've never lost one.
Iowa City does that also, allows their students to
Mhm.
take them home. 5% is what they lose, is what they estimate.
Yeah, so our kids don't take them home, but even during the year, we have such a transient population that that's probably right, that 3 to 7% range. I'll get a call from a pawn shop down in Des Moines. Hey, we got this computer that somebody tried to pawn. It says Ames Community Schools on it. Can we sell it? Oh, you can't sell it. Please bring it back to us. Or I'll take a road trip down to Des Moines and go get it. But it's just, once you start to ratchet up to, 1,000 plus kids in a building, 300-400 kids in a grade level, you have, it's an unfortunate reality of our education system is those kids can fall through the cracks. And a guidance counselor or principal doesn't notice that, Lance hasn't been to school in 3 weeks. We make a call, hey Lance, where you at? Oh, we moved to Chicago 2 weeks ago. At that point, all I can do is lock down the device and just make it unusable for them. It's an unfortunate cost of doing business in our current environment. What'd you do this summer, Chad?
Yeah, not much.
Oh,
No, ADM went 1-to-1 in the fall, so my summer was pretty busy. But Gobox Chrome helped me a lot. One of our focuses, though, was every teacher, grades 2 through 12, was to have a Google Classroom presence. So Karl and I did a workshop yesterday together about GAM, and GAM allowed me to provision those Google Classrooms en masse for the teachers and enroll all the students based on roster exports from Infinite Campus. And I was also able, on that same export, able to invite the Guardian contacts all in 2 GAM commands. And I set them as provision so that all the teacher had to do then is go to classroom.google.com and say accept or deny, because there were some that didn't want it the way I set it up. I gave the example in our session. I think it was a physics teacher wanted all of their sections of the physics class in one Google Classroom, and I sectioned it out because that's how most of them wanted it. But so they just said deny or decline, I can't remember, and then that one went away. I did discover that it still actually exists. It's just sitting there because you can't reuse that ID. So I had to get a little creative once in a while. Because the ID is something you set, so it's just some spreadsheet formulas and 2 GAM commands allowed me to provision a few hundred Google Classrooms in less than an hour, I would say it took me total to get. And the hardest part was getting the stupid IC export the way I wanted it. Building that export from IC was probably the hardest part of all that. So GAM, I did a lot of GAMming. We also, I didn't like the way the student users' usernames were provisioned, so I also used GAM to rename our entire student population usernames and reset all their passwords with a single GAM command and a CSV as well. So I did a whole bunch of work. Like you said, we always are looking for ways to do less work, and GAM allows you to do that. So if you don't know about GAM and you're a Google admin, you should learn it because it saved me days or weeks of work that I would have had to go through without it.
And that's another amazing free tool that's out there on the internet for you to go to get. That's a super supportive community to really kind of help you get up and going. Because really, you were 100% right, Chad. The hardest work, the biggest lift in making all of that stuff work is building the spreadsheet to feed GAM.
Yep.
GAM is just GAM do this, and this, but you have to have a spreadsheet for it to look to. And being able to extract that information from your SIS, whatever it is,
Yep.
You have to be able to make that happen. But it's worth the time in the end, because there's no way I'd go back to manually creating users a bunch at a time and then 25 in a group and all that crap in the GUI anymore. Wouldn't touch that at all.
And I added a little bit of time myself because I wanted one Infinite Campus export to do everything I needed for both tasks. So my Infinite Campus export was a little more complex than it probably needed to be if I would have done it in several different exports and then put it back together. But I was being me and pig-headed because I knew I could do it, and
Or else.
As
I
anyone who
needed it
knows
to
Chad,
work
when he
this
says
way.
I'm being me, oh, okay.
yeah, I wanted it to work a certain way, and I wasn't going to let it not work that way.
You said you changed your students' naming conventions.
Yeah.
What method did you use, or what convention?
Oh, right. So before it was literally first name dot last name, which to me has some student privacy concerns immediately. And then you would also run into kids with the same name, John Smith. you know, Jane Smith kind of issues. So I put a combination of, so I did a little bit of testing, so that was part of my workflow, is what combination would give me no conflicts, grades preschool through 12th grade. And I came up with the last 2 digits of their year graduation, so like seniors are 19, and then the first, how do I do that? First 3 of their first and first 4 of their last gave me no conflicts. So,
And a level of anonymity.
and a level of anonymity. And I really enjoy, for whatever reason, Karl and I go back and forth about this a little bit. I enjoy having their year of graduation somewhere in their username for various tasks that I complete, so that I can quickly see who was a 7th grader.
You win that argument too, by the way.
Yeah.
So now we're on the same side of that boat.
I lost.
Yeah, you did lose. Yours gone weird.
I'm still right.
So I enjoy having that there because it's quick. You can tell, oh my gosh, yeah, this is a 7th grade. So,
Do you have a question?
I did. Yesterday, I didn't remember if you guys had mentioned, do you guys have a cookbook website with these recipes, these GAM recipes in it somewhere?
So
Posted?
there was a question about, do we have a cookbook
Repository, yeah.
things that we've used in GAM?
I call them cheat sheets.
Sure.
There is the GAM cheat sheet that was in the slide deck. That's hopefully going to get updated here soon. I have my GAM tip of the month stuff and then the slide deck. But I don't. That's one of the things that I don't do a really good job of, and I don't think Chad really does either, is keeping the things that we've done over here on the side to go back and reuse them very well. So it's something maybe we'll have to talk about, maybe say, hey, this did this for us, and then we have the ability to go back to it. I know I do the same thing with spreadsheet formulas, where I got really, really deep in a formula, and I know I did this before, and where the heck is it? And you start digging through spreadsheets, and so having some stuff for GAM might be a pretty good idea too.
I use the command history in my Linux instance that I run on GCP. I know I did this about that far long ago, and then I sort of look at it. That's how I record my GAM commands. If I have to look back, I'm pretty good at just rewriting them because it's pretty simple to me. The commands are pretty straightforward in my head. Maybe not for everyone, but if I do have
nobody wants to be in your head.
Yeah, probably not. But if I do have to look back, that's quite literally my cataloging process is the up arrow in my GCP console.
Hey Phil, what did you do this summer?
We had a
Yeah, I had one quick question.
Oh,
Going back to your assigning emails and attaching the graduation year to it. Do you make any adjustment for students that were retained at grade level? I have teachers that come back to me and say, every time Johnny goes up, he's different than all the class and gets reminded that he was retained for 1 year. So
I do that for everyone except super seniors.
okay.
If a kid's retained prior to not graduating their senior year, I do that. But not,
Super seniors, he really likes to remind them.
I do. Like,
Get
come
out
on.
of here.
You should have been gone last year or
2 years
3
ago.
years ago.
You're 21 years old.
Right. So
And by the way, did
Yeah,
you
I
know
do.
that it is
I do.
illegal for a 21-year-old to participate in high school sports?
No.
In Iowa, it's illegal for a 21-year-old.
so yeah, everyone but super seniors gets
Incremented.
redone.
Reassigned.
Yep.
Okay.
Renamed, I guess. Renamed. And that's super simple because it's one GAM command and then it makes their old one an alias. So if they were getting email at that address, it still keeps it. So
Any other questions? I didn't want to, yes we do, so I'm going to see. Yes sir.
So I just wondered if you want to have like a preset list that had the Power School fields in it.
like your exports, you want?
Yeah.
No, I'm not Power School, so no, the answer is
Power School, Joe Wakeman just walked out of here. He's
Okay.
a pretty good Power School user. He may know, are we all campus?
Yeah.
So we're all in campus, and anybody in here's Power School?
Yeah.
Okay, so you got a couple here. I would be of no help on that one. Sorry. And you're not wrong for using Power School. We just use something
No,
different.
not at all. I don't know the sequel for that.
So
What'd you get up to,
Hey, Phil, what'd you do this summer?
We did some computer Chromebook refreshes with the Acer R11s, the one you see here. This year we didn't use any fancy tools. Just in years past we used like rubber ducky. I did have students enroll the devices for me, and they do laser engraving and inventory of the devices as well. And then we put in a bunch of like AirCam devices, which I think we're going to be talking about.
That's a good transition.
You are.
Yeah,
We
so
are.
loving it. I mean, they're great. If you guys don't know what AirTame is, it's
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, that's a great
We'll
transition.
transition.
Go, go.
All right.
Perfect.
Good job,
We
Phil.
totally set it up. It was in the notes that way. Well done, Phil.
It's a casting and digital signage device. It's got cloud management. You know, it's a pretty slick little tool. They just came out with what, AirTame 2?
Yeah, last week.
Yeah.
Did you all watch on your edge of seats the announcement?
I was so
Waiting for
thrilled. So I was like this.
Just like that.
I don't think
And it was
there's as many nerds
$400,
in
and
this
I was
room as
like,
we
never
think there are.
mind. $400? I was like, never mind.
But
It's worth it. It's worth it. So as was just mentioned in the room, so AirTame just announced their update.
Thunder.
And so you want to talk about the new stuff that's in there?
Go, Phil brought it up.
Go, Phil.
I'm going to talk about what I like about what I
Okay.
currently have, because that's still
Okay.
available, right?
It is. So
Yes.
even after the announcement,
Mhm.
so you'll get a message if you order now AirTame ones that the warehouse is empty, but they're working hard to fill it and fill orders of the AirTame ones.
So we have digital signage in our hallways, and the problem that I have is a lot of times people don't give me information. So I'm not getting the content that I want to distribute out. So what I've done is AirTame will allow you to do cloud management.
Hold on, does anyone else in the room have that problem? That the IT department doesn't get the
Get
information?
told what the heck's going on?
Thank
That's
you.
unanimous.
Thank you.
Good one.
Thank
Oh,
you.
it makes us feel a little better.
So now I've put this in the hands and responsibilities of the teachers of those hallways. So my middle school, for example, now has the ability to go in and make changes to the digital signage themselves through grouping, through the cloud management system. So that is a really powerful piece.
That is a powerful piece, and that's newer.
Yeah.
That didn't always exist. So there's a cloud management console that you can add all of your AirTames to and manage them that way. But then you can also, like you said, give certain users rights to certain groups of AirTames, and it's great. It's awesome if you have a fleet of them.
It's smooth.
How many did you guys install?
I have installed 8.
8?
Yeah.
Okay. Ooh.
We have more than that, and we just ordered 10 more, but I don't remember exactly how many. I could look at my console. Let's see if I can get there.
So for the uninitiated, the AirTame is a little widget about this big. Looks very similar to a Chromecast. Even the AirTame 2 looks like a new Chromecast as well. But I have been kind of on this search for the perfect platform agnostic wireless projection device, right?
Things like
So-
the projector.
Right. We've talked about the projector on the show
No, we didn't.
previously. And so, because my teachers have Mac devices, my high school students have Mac devices currently, my students have Chromebooks, I carry a Chromebook every day, we have people that come in that have Windows devices, and so we try to do Apple TVs. Apple TVs are great until you try to connect a Chrome device. Chromecasts are great until you want to try to secure it. You can't secure a Chromecast with a PIN number like you can an Apple TV. And so we're back and forth, and I didn't want dongles, and I didn't want all this other kind of garbage, right? So I literally have this plastic tote of demo devices that we've messed around with. Projector's one of them. Mac and Via, or not, not Mac and Via, that's something else. It's a Via by Kramer. Kramer Via is another one. And I kind of went back and forth with this little AirTame device. And it has been really, really, really stinking impressive. The app on the Chrome device is native. You can push it out to your digital signage. It's 100% free. I go buy a cheap little $90 Chrome bit, Velcro it to the back of a television, and ta-da, digital sign. For me, that's a cheaper way to get the digital sign than with the AirTames, because I'm not going to be projecting to these signs, right? I'm not going to be having kids go out and connect to the sign that's in the hallway. I just want to send that information, and then I have content pulled in from different places, Google Calendars, Twitter feeds, and that sort of stuff. But then I also embed a Google slide deck and say, okay, building secretary or designee, you can now update the sign by just filling out this slide deck. And so that way you can keep pictures up to date, they can do announcements, all that kind of stuff. And for me, it's a cheaper solution to accomplish what I want to accomplish. And there's Rise Vision has a whole bunch of mass management pieces in their console tool as well. I think where Airtame is trying to get into the digital signage game is really kind of more for the big, huge conference centers with lots of conference rooms where you want to come in and you see this unified sort of information about whatever building you're in. But I could see some schools using it. I mean, obviously
Yeah.
you are, but
Yeah.
there's not how we were going to do it.
The classroom end of it is really nice too, because aside from the digital signage, it's just the home screen. So what you can do there is if you're giving it to a teacher, they can then just add their presentation or slide for that week if they're doing points on, you know, whatever lesson that they're giving. So then that will show up when they're not connected. It goes to that home screen, which would be the digital signage screen.
That's
So
what I was just gonna
Yeah.
say, the Airtame allows dual purpose. So it's a presentation device and digital signage when it's not being used as a presentation device, so it's dual purpose in that way. And you can also, I mean, it's digital signage, so you can do the Google slide deck.
and the
scroll
teacher
through,
can control it.
and the teacher can control what's there. So I don't know how many of your teachers have like a monitor over here that has the daily agenda and the learning targets and all of that over on a digital sign. Maybe they still just write it on the board. Ours in the middle school happen to have a screen that's dedicated to sort of that information, and they can control that if you give them access to the console. We haven't gone that far yet, but you can, and we plan to. The other part
I'd love to
enjoy-
keep talking
Oh.
signage, but we're down to 10 minutes left,
Oh.
and there is kind of one big, I want to say elephant in the room as to going to
Mike's
affect
telling me to be
what
quiet.
this podcast community is. So how many people are aware of Google Plus going away?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Exactly. So, not that we're all huge users of Google Plus, but the issue is the GSFE Admins community is on Google Plus, and as of today, we're at 6,592 members. The prognosis, or what they're saying, is it will remain for enterprise and it will remain for education. But does that mean it is only within your domain, and do you have to whitelist outside your domain to allow people into your domain? Secondly, how many people are in the community with their personal email? Because at some point in time, life may change and you may not always be in the school district you're in. And we have a lot of people in that community who are not with schools, but offer valuable insight, like vendors, not that we want them to, schlep their wares, but they can answer questions. So Google Plus is going away, and we're kind of trying to find what is the next solution for the GAF admins community. And the part about that also bothers me is that we distribute out this podcast, to the different Google Plus communities to kind of get people to know that it's out there. So I can say I know that there has been contact in terms of Google looking at a different platform that they would use or recreate to kind of have these types of communities, because that bulletin board-esque setting is something that's been very useful. And if you are not part of the GSFE Admins community, I would say hurry, go get on it, but then you're only going to have a year, because I think it's in September of 2019 that they will end of life it. So we're kind of looking and want people to be aware that that's something we know is on the horizon, and are looking at solutions for and ways to continue on, because it's a community I use. I'm on it daily and probably use it at least once, twice a week myself.
Mr. Lennon, have you heard from Google at all about the status of, moving forward?
No, I haven't gotten any clear updates since the announcement.
Okay.
So,
Because they watch that community. Googlers watch that community, and they are a fan of that community in that format to get and offer assistance to people like us.
So is anybody here part of the Google Cloud Connect, like you use for bug reporting and to voting up bug fixes and stuff? Has anybody been? The theory is Cloud Connect will become kind of the platform they want to adjust for this, is what I was told actually quite a while ago. I can't remember when I contacted you guys about that. Nope.
I don't remember.
That's how much they pay
Sorry.
attention to me.
Bad.
But no, I'm honestly, they talked to me reached out to us about a year and a half ago, knowing that this was on the horizon. I mean, Google Plus was ideally supposed to be the Facebook killer, and it just ain't.
No. But it's not, I don't know, it's not a public social media platform,
No.
but the community bits of it make it super, super useful. I mean, we've used, obviously, the GSFE Admins community. is one that's very, very popular and useful. But there's also, if you use Autocrat or some of those tools, they have a very vibrant, in fact, that's the only way there is support for some of those tools, is through their Google Plus communities. School districts.
Vision Cloud Lab, where each of their tools has a community separate.
Yep, some school districts, now we should be able to continue to use them as a school, but we've used them to facilitate online learning throughout the summer or in the evenings and that sort of stuff to kind of promote conversations, right? So I am kind of disappointed that it's going away. I think some people were like, oh, Google Plus still exists. Like when Wave went away, nobody really cared. I'll be impressed if there's more than 5 people in this room that even remember Google Wave.
John oh no. He's still using it.
I still have the email address and everything.
So there is some, we're gonna have to rethink a little bit of how this works because having that resource and that tool has proven really, really useful for not just new folks to this, but folks that have been doing this for a long time too.
I'd go have to move it to Facebook.
I'm not sure that would be a good idea. Should be a good idea.
Is there a Microsoft tool for this?
Ooh, don't start there.
So, we are sitting at 12:01. We're supposed to be done at 12:05 and go to lunch. Lunch today is Jeremy's favorite. It is grilled chicken breast with a cherry balsamic glaze and roasted asparagus
Jeremy's all about it.
I don't know.
on a bed of rice peels.
Hey, just a quick note, this might not affect all schools, but Google just announced the other day that all Google assisted headphones and Android phones will now do real-time language translation. So we have a couple of students that
We have a Babelfish.
Babblefish. I love it.
That's exactly what
they
it
don't
is.
speak English, so I mean,
Yeah.
this is
It's
big
huge.
news. Yeah.
It is huge.
That is
I
awesome.
agree, that's huge news. I don't know how many of you have had experience with Google Translate previously, but it is an amazing tool. The visual piece of it, so at Spirit Lake, our ESL learners all had Android tablets for the sole purpose of using Google Translate with a camera. I mean, they can hold it over a homework sheet and it will translate to their native language and look like it's on the homework sheet so they can complete the problem set. So it is an amazing tool, and now with the addition of that, it gets even better, and you're right, pretty soon we will just have Battlefish. I want to put my own language on there so that...
Well,
Translate. So, and also, if
You hear everything just really fast. Is that what it is?
It's like the closed captioning on the slides,
Yeah.
where it won't translate the F.
Well, that's a good topic for next time.
Yeah.
All right.
Is consumer...
Thanks, guys.
All right, thank you all for being
Have a good
here.
one, everybody.
Thanks to everybody. Have a great one.